You're not just useless, you're ugly too. Do I really have to look at someone like you every day from now on? I shouldn't have rushed into marrying you.
After marrying Richard, he suddenly began saying such cruel things to me. The Richard who used to cherish me before our marriage was nowhere to be found. Is this how much someone can change after getting married? Just as I was growing more distrustful, I discovered the real reason behind Richard's change in behavior. My name is Jennifer, and I'm 30 years old. I've been dating Richard, who is 2 years younger and worked at the same office, for 5 years now. On our 5th anniversary, he proposed to me at a fancy hotel restaurant. Now, we're making progress together on introducing our families, planning the wedding, and searching for a new home. He was assigned to the same administrative department as me about 2 years after joining the telecommunications company where I currently work as a new graduate. He was so obedient and adorable, always doing exactly what his seniors asked, like a loyal puppy. At first, I just watched him from afar, but before I knew it, he started talking to me more and more.
Jennifer, what's your favorite food? Also, is there anything you don't like?
He would take any chance during breaks at work to ask me those kinds of questions. I like pancakes. As soon as I gave a simple answer, he would spend that day's break researching restaurants.
I found a place with the amazing pancakes. Want to go after work?
Then, with his eyes sparkling, he would show me pictures of the restaurant on his phone. Even before he confessed his feelings, I already had a sense that he liked me.
When I first saw you, Jennifer, I just knew. You're the one. I promise to cherish you forever. If it's okay, will you be my girlfriend?
When Richard confessed his feelings during our 3rd date, I was genuinely happy. Thank you. Actually, I kind of had a feeling you'd confess to me today. Hearing that, his face turned an even deeper shade of red, and he looked down. That expression was so adorable and endearing. Even now, 5 years into our relationship, Richard's proactive gestures and sweet demeanor haven't changed. Every year on my birthday or our anniversaries, he surprises me with jewelry I had mentioned wanting or takes me out to a fancy dinner. The warm smile he shows when I'm happy is something I absolutely adore. So, when he proposed, I didn't hesitate to say yes. I believe that with someone who cherishes me so much, I could have a happy married life. However, shortly after our engagement, Richard's behavior suddenly changed. Since we wanted to start living together as soon as possible after getting engaged, we decided to begin living together before our wedding, moving in and registering our marriage at the same time. All that was left was to have the wedding ceremony. But it was around this time that Richard's behavior completely shifted. For some reason, he started ignoring me whenever I spoke to him. "Hey, I'm thinking about our wedding." When I tried to discuss it, he turned his back to me and replied coldly,
I'm tired right now. Let's talk later.
At home, he was constantly playing games on his phone, and there were no conversations between us. The atmosphere in the house was cold, far from what you'd expect from newlyweds. "Where should we go this weekend?"
I'm tired. Let me just relax at home.
Whenever I tried to talk to him, he would only respond in a lethargic tone. Before we got married, he had been cheerful and active, but now he seemed like a completely different person. The only reason I could think of was that Richard had been transferred from the admin department to the sales department after our marriage. Starting our married life and learning a new role at work must have been overwhelming for him. So I thought he might be feeling overwhelmed or pressured by the start of our new life together and all the unfamiliar challenges. And I decided to support Richard patiently with understanding. However, Richard's behavior toward me only escalated further. He would sigh in annoyance as he looked at the dining table.
You haven't even started cooking yet? You're so useless.
I'm sorry. I had to work late today and I just got home. I'll start now, so please wait a little longer. When I said that, Richard's expression became even more annoyed.
You're not just useless, you're ugly too. Do I really have to look at someone like you every day from now on? I shouldn't have rushed into marrying you.
What? Is this the same kind and gentle person I once knew? I wasn't angry or sad. I was simply in disbelief. Richard had always treated me with care and had never said anything so cruel, not even during arguments. But from that day on, his attitude toward me only got worse. He started calling me old hag and yelling, "Hurry up! You're so slow!" while rushing me to finish the housework and cooking. I began seriously considering calling off my marriage to Richard. However, with the ceremony scheduled for next month, canceling now would mean paying a hefty cancellation fee. More importantly, it would cause confusion and upset among our family and relatives who were excitedly looking forward to our wedding. What should I do? Is it even okay to consider divorce at this point? While I was struggling with these worries, my younger sister, Emma, called me. Emma, 3 years younger than me, works as a dermatologist. It was rare to receive a call from Emma. Since graduating from medical school, she hadn't contacted me, saying she was too busy with work. It's been a while. How have you been? Is work going well? When I answered the phone, Emma spoke in a somber voice.
Yeah, well, work's going fine.
Her voice clearly sounded like she was feeling down. Did something happen?
I don't know, but lately, I feel like someone's been following me after work.
According to Emma, she'd noticed a shadowy figure near the staff entrance of her clinic. And that figure apparently follows her as she walks to the station. Once she reaches the station, it blends into the crowd, and she loses sight of it. This has been going on for about a month. Even after discussing it with her clinic director and adjusting her work hours, the figure still appeared every time. When she consulted the police, they said they couldn't take action because there was no actual harm, and only promised to increase patrols near the clinic. Emma, who has been entirely focused on her career and has little experience with relationships, said she had no idea who the stalker could be. Hearing her story, I became deeply worried. It might not seem harmful now, but if you ignore it, you could end up in danger. Let's hire a private investigator to look into this. I'll go with you.
A private investigator? Yeah, you're right. It's better to get this thoroughly checked out.
After Emma's sudden call, I couldn't stop worrying about her. Before I realized it, all my concerns about my marriage to Richard had completely disappeared. 2 weeks later, I was shocked when I read the investigator's report. I recognized the face of the man in the photos. No, it wasn't just recognition. It was the face I saw every day when I came home. The person stalking Emma was my husband, Richard. You've got to be kidding. Why? I covered my mouth in disbelief, while Emma stared wide-eyed at the photos, completely stunned. I don't even remember what we talked about after that. Starting the next day, I threw myself into work as if nothing had happened. At home, I knew I'd lose control and lash out at Richard, so I stayed at a business hotel near my office for about a week. With the wedding to Richard just around the corner, I knew I couldn't keep running away from reality, so I reluctantly gathered my resolve and returned home. How should I bring this up? I froze with my hand on the doorknob. When I finally opened the door, Richard was sitting on the couch, staring blankly into space. When he noticed me, he didn't ask where I'd been. Instead, he started talking.
Good timing. I need to tell you something. I've fallen in love with someone else. I want you to let me go.
That someone else. It's Emma, isn't it? I thought it, but couldn't say it out loud. Seeing my stunned reaction, he continued.
But canceling the wedding would cost a lot, and there's family pride to consider. Let's have the ceremony and then divorce after a little while.
How selfish can you be? Why? If you didn't love me, why did you propose? When I asked, he muttered softly.
After I proposed to you, I met an incredibly attractive woman. She's beautiful, successful, and completely out of my league, but I fell for her, and I got her pregnant. So I'm going to take responsibility and leave you.
That one sentence made everything clear. Richard had fallen for Emma the moment he saw her at our family meeting. It's true that Emma is far more beautiful than me, and as a dermatologist, she earns a high income. She's the kind of person anyone could fall for at first sight. But what about the baby? Emma didn't mention anything like that, and she was upset about being followed. What's really going on? I was so overwhelmed, I didn't know what to believe anymore. One thing was certain. I couldn't stay with Richard any longer. I decided without hesitation to end things with him. But the wedding is just around the corner. I don't have the slightest energy left to cancel it or explain the situation to my relatives. And so, I ended up going along with the flow and facing the wedding day. A few days later, the wedding took place, and for me, it was nothing short of hell. We exchanged fake vows of eternal love despite not loving each other, and I watched as our parents were moved to tears. The ceremony went smoothly, but my heart felt like it was going to shatter. I couldn't bring myself to let Emma attend, so I told everyone she had an urgent patient and had her stay away. It would have been better to pay the hefty cancellation fee. I should have explained everything to our relatives. But it was too late for regrets. I cried out of sadness, though everyone probably thought they were tears of joy. The day after the wedding, I couldn't take it anymore and began calling our families and relatives one by one. Could you all gather? I have something important to discuss. When everyone assembled, Richard looked startled.
What's going on?
I hadn't told Richard, who was clearly confused, that I had invited all our families and relatives. Once everyone was gathered, I made my declaration. I'm getting a divorce. Richard has said terrible things to me ever since we started living together, and it's broken my spirit. I want my life back. My mom and aunt voiced their concern.
What happened? Why all of a sudden? Did something happen?
Richard's parents, Susan and Peter, were furious.
A divorce? Are you kidding me? It's the day after your wedding.
Exactly. No matter what the reason is, divorcing the day after your wedding is completely unreasonable.
Sure, we had talked about breaking up due to incompatibility, but to go ahead and gather all our families and relatives the day after the wedding to announce a divorce? Are you kidding me? Doing something like this so casually, there's something seriously wrong with you.
Richard criticized me harshly. You're the last person who should be saying that. I wanted to shout back, but held my tongue. Instead, I played the audio recordings on my phone.
Old hag, you haven't made dinner yet? Hurry up, you slowpoke.
The recording captured every instance of Richard belittling me and pressuring me to finish the housework and cooking. Since Richard started treating me so poorly, I'd secretly recorded his words just in case something like this happened.
Calling Jennifer an old hag? What are you, a rebellious teenager?
Aren't you both working? If that's the case, getting upset just because dinner's a bit late seems unnecessary.
The relatives began pointing out how harsh Richard's words were. Even Susan and Peter, who had been angry moments ago, suddenly fell silent. Richard was usually known to be calm and gentle, never acting this cruel toward family or relatives. Everyone in the room froze, clearly taken aback by the situation.
You've always been such a calm and understanding person. For you to get this upset, there must be some kind of reason, right?
Exactly. I've never seen Richard raise his voice like this. Did Jennifer do something awful to you?
They looked at Richard as they spoke.
No, not really. There's no specific reason.
Richard's response was hesitant, and his eyes darted around nervously, showing his clear unease. Since Richard wouldn't clearly state the reason for our divorce, I stepped in to explain. You've fallen for someone else, haven't you? You don't care about me anymore, and seeing me just makes you irritated, right? As I spoke, I spread the private investigator's report across the table. There, in the photos, was Richard stalking Emma.
What's this? Are you using binoculars to spy on someone's house?
Wait, isn't that Emma's apartment where she lives alone?
The relatives examined the photos curiously, while my mom screamed.
What is this?
Shouting, Richard frantically tried to gather the photos.
Could this be an affair?
No, it's more like stalking.
The relatives stared at Richard with puzzled and suspicious expressions. By this point, there was no escape for him. At that moment, the front door, which had been left unlocked, opened.
Sorry, my shift ran late, so I got here later than planned.
Emma walked into the room as she apologized. The relatives, looking concerned, turned their eyes to Emma, as if wanting to say something. But none of them seemed to know what to say.
What's going on?
Emma looked confused, but no one said a word. Richard suddenly began crying and pleading with Emma.
Emma, why are you ignoring me? We promised to raise our child together and live happily. This is cruel.
What?
Emma muttered softly, looking utterly bewildered.
I'm your partner. We met in the wrong order because of fate, but I'm leaving her so we can be together. Emma, will you marry me?
Richard dropped to his knees in front of Emma and proposed on the spot. Everyone in the room was dumbfounded, unable to process what was happening.
I'm sorry to say this in front of everyone, but are you out of your mind? You kept coming to my clinic without any reason, so much so that the director had to ban you. You stalked me endlessly and kept stuffing creepy poems into my mailbox. On top of that, claiming I'm pregnant with your child and that I'm your partner. Enough with the lies.
Emma gave Richard a big slap in the face.
I've never even touched you. Even an elementary schooler knows you can't get pregnant just by being stared at from afar.
Everyone was stunned, and some of the relatives, finding the situation amusing, began recording it on their phones. Susan and Peter looked like they were about to burst into tears, utterly at a loss, while Richard's other relatives sighed heavily.
This is ridiculous.
Work it out between yourselves.
As the relatives began leaving, Peter shouted at Richard,
You disgrace. When did your thinking become so completely irrational? Apologize to Jennifer and Emma right now. I never imagined Richard could be this foolish, and I'm deeply sorry for saying such terrible things to you, Jennifer.
Peter apologized to Emma and me along with Richard. Richard, on the verge of tears, muttered,
Emma loves me. We're destined to be together.
It was clear he was still trapped in his delusions. Enough already. We're getting divorced, and I never want to see your face again.
If you come near me again, I'll call the police.
Emma and I glared at him as we said this.
I'm truly sorry for saying such terrible things to you without understanding the situation, Jennifer.
Peter grabbed Richard by the collar, cutting off whatever he was trying to say, and dragged him out of the house and back home. A few days later, I was able to finalize my divorce from Richard through Susan and Peter's mediation.
This is the least we can do to apologize. Please accept it.
What he handed me was a substantial amount of alimony. There were payments prepared for both Emma and me, totaling enough to buy 2 luxury cars. I hesitated a little, wondering if it was really okay to accept such a large amount of alimony. But thinking back to everything Richard had put me through, it felt more than fair. Then, I'll accept it as a token of your apology. I decided to accept it. When a few of my colleagues at work asked why I had separated from Richard, I told them the truth. Not only did Richard call me an old hag and mock me as slow, but he also became infatuated with Emma, a female doctor, stalked her obsessively, and even made outrageous claims like, I'm Emma's partner, and Emma and I are having a child. And then he proposed to Emma in front of our families and relatives, saying he wanted to divorce me and marry her, only to be spectacularly rejected. After I honestly told my colleagues everything, the rumors spread throughout the office, and Richard, having lost his place at work, was forced to resign voluntarily. I later heard through relatives that Peter had told Richard to go train at a church run by someone he knew. Richard couldn't even manage his marriage because he was fixated on another woman. As a result, he became the target of severe criticism throughout the office and ended up having to resign. He's a pitiful man. Hoping that Richard would finally change his ways and become a decent person, Peter arranged for him to live at a church run by an acquaintance and undergo rigorous training. I wasn't told the details of the training at the church, but I've heard that Richard is so consumed by it that he doesn't have the time or energy for things like romance or marriage. I hope he doesn't leave the church until he's genuinely reformed. In fact, I wouldn't mind if he stayed there for the rest of his life. Meanwhile, after my divorce, I started receiving enthusiastic attention from a colleague who joined the company at the same time as me. According to my coworkers, I'm modest and humble, the kind of woman who attracts many men. Apparently, several of my male colleagues had secretly had feelings for me even before I got married. Among them, the one who especially had feelings for me was a colleague who joined the company at the same time as me. He started asking me out, seizing my divorce as an opportunity. I'm a bit tired from everything with my ex-husband. I'm not ready for another relationship right now. I just want to take a break.
I'm not asking you to start dating me right away. I'd just be happy if you join me for dinner after work.
He accepted my feelings with a gentle smile. For now, I'm enjoying meals and outings with him as a colleague. I'm in no rush to jump into another relationship, and I want to take my time to ensure that my next partner is truly a sincere person. After my divorce from Richard, I've taken a step forward, determined to enjoy new love and move on with my life.